My name's Philip, and the last time we were here was 2009. Now we are going to do an update. Still work in progress, even though it's 9-10 years ago. We have lived in the house ever since the first program has finished, and I'll just run you quickly through what we have done and some of the advantages, some of the disadvantages of living in a stone house here in the bush in Tonga. Compost toilet. This is going to be the novelty. It's working a treat. We have to clean it out once or twice a year, and it does not smell. That was my wife's biggest concern, was that the toilet and toilet room would smell like a long drop. But I don't know whether you can hear or not, but there is a suction fan and it works 24 hours a day, and the smell goes out through the chimney and the room doesn't smell at all. So moving along here, we have tiled all the floors to make it clean, easy to clean. There's the toilet there. The batteries you can see behind. The electrics have been wired up, that we run on these two batteries here. We did have 4 batteries, but unfortunately we had a malfunction in one battery, so instead of having 4 batteries with over 400 amp hours, we are now down to 200 amp hours. We have 3 panels on the roof, each 80 watts, and that is enough to run the household. Nearly all the lighting of the house is LEDs. We have a 12-volt electric water pump, and we have a shower with cold running water. We haven't quite got round to putting in the hot water system, which will be a passive solar hot water system. The only problem is that it gets cold in our winter, when the water temperature drops perhaps around about 20 degrees or something like that. This is unusual for us on a Sunday afternoon. The kids are all watching television. Again, everything in this house is 12 volt.
Well, that went over well. Maybe it's shy. Could be, right?
The dimensions of the house are 12 meters by 15 meters, with the add-on of the toilet, which is 4 meters by 4 meters. And it's big and room airy. Part of the reason we built it so high was to give enough volume inside the house to allow it to be cool during the hot summer. The gable ends are open, and the idea was that the hot air will rise and go out the open ends. Over here we have our kitchen set up. One of the other problems which I just thought of is termites. We have a problem that they will eat anything, including treated plywood, which they're not supposed to do, but they do. So we don't have a fridge. We did have a gas operated fridge, but it broke down over a period of time. We're a coastal climate condition here, and everything rusts very, very easily, very quickly. So we don't have a fridge per se. What we do is we have a cold box here, and we get ice bottles from a fridge at work. Our cooking habits and practices have changed to incorporate this lack of refrigeration. It's difficult, but you can get used to it. We run on LPG gas. We are completely off the grid. We have no electricity other than what we generate on the roof. And the water, we have a cistern out in the veranda. As the composting toilet uses no water whatsoever, we have not run out of water yet. A lot of the problems here could be overcome with a great deal more money. We've got ideas and plans for refrigeration. We have separate solar panels for the fridge, separate batteries, and so on and so on. We've got some of those things, but we don't have the fridge. It costs at least 800 Australian dollars in Australia. To get it here would probably cost twice that much. When we first did this, we only had 2.5 kids. In the meantime, we have had 3 more children, so there are 5 children, plus we have adopted another one, so there are 6 children in here. This is the boys' room. We have 3 or 4 boys, depending on what's what, sleeping in here. A lot of this stuff has come from Australia. When I brought a container load over, we brought bedding and so on, but other stuff here is homemade. Yeah, so it's a bit of a tight squeeze, but this is Tonga, where the kids are used to sleeping a couple of kids to a bed, but this is still a very open planned house, and plans are to build another room for the oldest boy so he can be away from his younger siblings, and he's a teenager and he needs his own privacy. We have wire all over the windows, or at least over the larger windows, because we have problems with feral cats coming inside. So again, living in the bush, we have problems that are not anticipated when we first built this place. The problem of break-ins and so on, not yet. We're very lucky here in the respect that Tonga is still a relatively law-abiding country, and we don't have problems out here in the bush. Okay. This is my daughter's room. We only have we have 2 daughters. One's a baby and one is 10 years old. And she has this room all to herself. But again, if you look at the dimensions, this is 4 by 4 meters. It's much too large for one single person, but we will divide that, or we will make better use of the space here. And over on here we have the master bedroom, which is our main bedroom. There have been quite a lot of compromises and adjustments needed to be made, but on the whole, this is what I want. I would much rather live in a place like this. It's cool in summer, warm in winter, and we haven't really tested it yet, but it should be cyclone proof. We did have one serious problem when we first built this house. In the corner over here there was a very large mango tree. So we cut the mango tree down, and we couldn't build on top of the stump or on the roots. So that was part of the reason for the positioning of the house. Was there was a big tree over there, there was a big tree here, and we're very close to the boundary of this property, 1 meter or so in fact. And over a period of time we found that there was a crack starting here. You can see a crack here, and it ran down through here, ran all the way across the floor, and the whole corner of the house was actually subsiding because of the tree. The root system had died and decayed, and the ground was slumping. So what we had to do is get a builder to come in, and they dug down around the foundation down to about that deep and perhaps that wide, and it was filled with concrete. So there is now running around the front of the house a concrete apron, which is actually helping the house to be stable. We can look out onto the veranda. The builder who made this for us is a local man, and he liked the idea of the stones in amongst the tiles. He'd seen it in a book or another flash hotel somewhere, and asked us whether we would be agreeable to have something like that. And I think the result speaks for itself. It's really, really cool. We really like what he's done here. And this veranda is sitting over the cistern. And we've got our little, hold on, I'm going to turn the pump on.
Shut up.
We're standing on a water cistern here. It's about this big and 7 meters long by about 3 meters, so that's about 27,000 litres or something. There's a baffle wall in the middle there with holes in it, so just try and stop. I haven't checked carefully, but we had an earthquake the other day, fairly strong. I haven't seen any hairline cracks or anything like that, so it should be okay. So the garden is our passion, is our pride and joy. We spend a lot of time outside. If I had to build this house again, I wouldn't build it quite so large, but I would have a veranda on 2 or 3 sides, because we live outside more than we live inside. Inside is dark, and here it's light and airy and cool, and we have something to look at. The garden, when we first arrived here, this was just heavy bush, and now we are slowly changing it to suit our needs. What we're trying to do is to plant as many different species or types of plants that we can do. If you look at the gardens here in Tonga, you'll find that there's about maybe 1 dozen different sorts of plants that everybody has, because they grow very well here. Here we are taking the unusual, the rare, the different ones, and we're planting them in our garden here. The house name was Apio Hengehenga. That means the house of the Tongan Whistler. It's endemic, and it's an endangered species of bird, but we have 4 nesting pairs around here, but we have never ever found the nests of any of the birds. Just last week we were sitting inside there looking out the window, and there was a pair of Tongan Whistlers who were on the coconut tree feeding, and that in itself was just wonderful to see, really wonderful to see that these birds are still around.
Some of the stuff here in Tonga, you know it more than me. You have read a lot. Okay, Mike. You when I'm talking, you are going to cut off some of it. I mean, you're going to fix it up later. Mike, I wish I do have a water gun here. Alright, I'll start from here. Okay. Is it okay? Catch, please. I'm just like a very smart lady holding a book and a pencil. Alright. Okay. Garden here. It's I made it especially for our youngest daughter Freya, because she was a miracle, and then I still believe in that today. So I made this. It's a remarkable garden bed only for her. Nobody allowed to touch it, even take any flower or anything from it. Okay, and all the way here is the palm trees. Few more different types of palm trees in here, like a little one over there. We call it in Tonga, it's a longo tree. And also this one is a cycad too. Actually, that one has a story. I was driving past by the Paradise Hotel has burned, and then I stole it from there because it's not many around. So I planted there almost a year, but then suddenly it came out by itself, and now I love it so much. So all this room in here is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 or 9 different types of balms that we do have in here.
These are cordellini. Unfortunately, cows like eating this stuff, and we are having a never-ending battle with cows breaking fence down, getting through the fence, and they come in here and they go straight for the cordellini and they eat it. A lot of this stuff has got medicinal purposes, and or it's used as decorations for making kohola, or the necklaces, or the ta'avalas for dancers. So it's not only decoration, there's also other uses. You can see the vanilla there, it hasn't flowered yet. It's time of year that it should flower, but they're not old enough, not big enough yet to set flowers.
So in here, a new garden bed. We would like to make some more flowers and stuff. It will help me later in the future. It's one way of how getting more flowers and plants that I can sell it later to earn some, own money for myself.
This is our normal Sunday afternoon practice. We just come walking around the garden and look and dream and talk and argue about what should go where, why, and so on. Up here on our left-hand side is what we have called our ginger room. It's still very young, but how it's going to work is that you can see a row of rather sorry-looking cuttings. When they grow, they'll be thorned yellow duranta. We've got our ginger here. We have another ginger over there, which looks a bit like strelitzia. Those two sticks mark the place for turmeric. But look at this, this is a beautiful flower. It just keeps growing, all the bracts and so on.
Now we're heading to the rainforest. This is the very first time when we had our first 2 blocks of land that we applied for it. We asked for it the very first time. We went the very first time when we came here, and I knew about this small rainforest here. I love it. I kept on praying for it. One day I will own it. 10 years ago, it was all covered up with fern. It's a very sharp one. It can stick through your foot all the way up to the top. So, and then we cleared it all up. Hardly, to cut down any trees. Less cutting trees, and save a habitat, a living area for birds and living things. This is where we are going to make up a bench, a wooden bench with for picnic or for rest, a quiet area, cool, you can hear birds and you can feel nature.
In this small remnant of rainforest here, we've got coconuts growing, which are not rainforest trees, but we have what the Tongan tree is, a koka. It's a beautiful dark red wood. It's a beautiful looking tree. We have 1, 2, where else?
There's 5 more.
There's five
or 6
only in this whole area here. Now, some of these trees here are very common, they're softwoods, some are not so common. Carver is now up to 180 anga per kilo, and growers are hacking down the bush to plant carver. So we're losing a lot of forest or bush that was been here for ages. Point in case is on the other side of the wire fence here is a Carver Plantation. This bush used to travel all the way down here, a couple of 100 meters. Now it's 20 meters, our fence and Carver Plantations. So we're losing a lot of biodiversity, we're losing a lot of bush. It's all tertiary bush, it's not prime, none of it's pristine, but we are losing it. But we will be planting more rainforest trees if and when we can find them. We want to do our bit to try and reverse. We've got our own carver gardens, of course, but we are hopefully planting more trees than we're chopping down.
Yeah, that's in the morning. 1 to 3. Yeah, they're there.
What we have here is the beginning of a dream that we both share, we're both passionate about. A demonstration plot. Behind you, you can see ploughed strip of land where there will be carver, there will be manioki, taro, kapi and the likes. And business is not a dirty word. We are going to try and make a business out of this by inviting Polangis, expats and other people who are interested in to see these gardens. Behind us here we're going to have a commercial chicken raising project, but it's the beginning of an idea, it's a dream. Over on our left here will be an island. The whole idea of this place is to have views or rooms with a view. And as you can see, we're fortunate we built on top of a rise or a slope, and we can look up and we can look down, where we will be blocking off views, so there is some mystery, some curiosity, what's around the next corner, what's behind all these bushes.
One of the reasons why I like it, to make the island here, to break down winds, before it get into the rainforest. My favorite spot is the rainforest. I have seen many people, they rely on going overseas to find life, but for me, I know there's a life here in Tonga and I don't really rely on other countries. The name of it is self-sufficient. That is, I really love that word. Every time I say it, I like it, I love it. I want to make something for myself, for my own family, for my own children. When they get their own family and their own children, I wish they will follow that. Don't rely on others, but they work for themselves.
We planted kauri along the original borders, and they're very rapid growing and beautiful timber trees. The idea originally was to grow them for our kids. When they're in their 20s or something, these trees should be big enough to mill for their own use or for sale or something like this, because it is good quality wood. But who knows what's going to happen, how many of our children are going to stay with us. Hopefully our eldest boy will stay and live here and carry on with the projects here. We have two main spheres of interest. We have a commercial one, which is chicken raising, and we have the garden one, which will be demonstration plots for carver and local produce here, and also a botanic garden of its kind. I think it will be unique in the respect that it's a mix. It's not a pure botanic garden, it's not a pure garden tour, it's a bit of mix of everything. Self-sufficiency will be our goal here, and as time goes on we will be changing how we live, what we're eating. We are self-sufficient in the respect that we have no power bills, we have no water bills. We are recycling most of our waste product, insofar as that we have pigs, but we don't have them on the property at the moment. We have them on our brother-in-law's property, but we save all our food scraps and the likes and we send them down there. We have probably just enough land to support ourselves, but that's not the whole idea, is to support ourselves entirely from the land, but it is to reduce our carbon footprint. I unfortunately have to work elsewhere to make money to keep this dream alive, and that's
I fly like this.
part of the reason why it's taking quite some time, but we have time. Gardening or being out in the garden here is such a invigorating and recharge the batteries. We just come for a walk down here and we look and we hear the birds and we look at the plants and we see, oh look, there's a flower here we haven't seen before. Oh, this sucker's here, there's a seedling popped up here and there, and it's constantly changing.
Batman.
There's a snail in here. Around here. Especially they call it the bright yellow one. The common one is the one with the orange.
Pigeon. There he goes.
Yeah.
Make sure to